I would go back to the roots and actually start with three simple questions. I'm going to ask you right now if you're up to
Okay.
it.
A challenge, okay. Now, whenever I feel like I'm getting a bit in this mood or of negative thoughts or just not in the flow, I feel like I make this shift quite fast that I'm like, okay, I'm done with my own bullshit. Hi, and welcome to Beyonder, the podcast. I'm your host, V. And in Beyonder, we talk about going beyond borders, not just country borders, but also inner limitations. And with my guests, I talk about inner and outer journeys. And today's guest, we're really going to dive deep into the inner journeys, actually. She's someone who is a health coach and is specialized in helping women with anxiety, with self-sabotage, self-doubt, or whenever patterns come up that keep on repeating itself. And maybe you recognize this, that you feel like, oh, I'm just sabotaging myself. So we're going to dive into all of these topics. And I'm super grateful for today's guest because she's also a dear friend of mine. And I'm always inspired by her stories when we catch up. And she actually has been helping me as well, especially the past year when I was going through some things. So I know firsthand how powerful the work is that she does. And she has also written a book. She's a TEDx speaker. So yeah, let's dive in. Welcome, Christina, to the show. I'm so happy you're here today.
Thank you, Vili. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be here and ready to dive into the amazing conversation that's awaiting for us.
Yeah, and the first question I always ask my guests is because in Beyond the podcast, we talk about going beyond borders, right? And living life on your own terms. So what I always like to ask as the first question is, how do you go beyond the ordinary in your own life?
Well, actually, how I go beyond in my day-to-day life is being present. I would say being present in the moment and actually stopping and being really in the moment, because we tend to be elsewhere, past, future, listening to conversations when we're having coffee with a friend. Everything is, there's so much input, so much energy, so many things going around us that I try to focus on what's going on at this precise moment in order to like go beyond in my day-to-day life. That grounds me somehow.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, it's something that's so important to be present, but it can also be so challenging. And I think maybe it's also related with those topics that we are going to talk about, that you often sabotage yourself and that you feel like, oh, I want to be more present and really want to, pay attention to what's going on in my daily life. But then those thoughts come up and yeah, you're just limiting yourself in a way. Like, how did you get into this work? Like, was it inspired by your own journey or how did it start?
Well, definitely it was inspired by my own journey because, well, as you know, but I'm going to share it with our audience here. 20 years ago, I experienced face paralysis, and it was due to a lot of stress. And due to that, what I tend to do now is actually stop and be present, because I was all over the place. I thought I was Superwoman. I thought I could do everything. I was doing a lot of sports. I was working. I had 2 kids. I can do everything. I was juggling with 100 things at a time. And the body said no. The body stopped me because I wasn't stopping myself. So actually, I was inspired by my own journey and stopped. And what really makes me actually be more healthy in my day-to-day life is to be present. Be like right now. I'm really grateful to be here, right here. I'm grateful to be in this moment. And gratitude is another thing that we can talk about maybe later. To be right here. And that really helps.
And how did from when that happened to you and you learned how to become more present, and what you said, you felt like you could do everything, and I can relate to that. I sometimes, what you said, feel like Superwoman until then at a certain moment I'm like, oh, this was too much, and I crash. And it's that balance. And I feel like a lot of people who are high achievers and ambitious, and I know a lot of people listening to this are like that. We have big dreams and a big vision, and you want to just keep on going. How did you learn to really listen to your body and eventually create your work out of that? Like, how did you take those steps after that happened and going forward?
Yeah, well, actually, before that, I was an interior designer, and I was in the world of beauty, of aesthetics, of everything was beautiful. But when this happened to me, being a woman in this world of aesthetics, of Instagram, of pictures, of Facebook, of all these, selfies and stuff, I didn't feel beautiful, and I was in a world that I was supposed to be beautiful. So I was asked while I was doing rehab during 1 year exactly. I was asked to help other women during my rehab period, and there was a specific woman. She was Latin American, and she was working on the TV, and she was on the prime time, and she had to work with her face, but she had a face paralysis, so she was devastated. And I went to her out to her room and helped her with her rehab and talked to her. And the doctors were like, you should work with them. You should, you're not a doctor. You don't have the education, the proper education to do this, but you embody this. So why don't you start doing this? So I thought to myself, why not? Why don't I educate myself to do this? So that's when I started. I got myself an education as a health coach, and I got other educations during these 20 years. I've been doing a lot of things to get there. And it's been very satisfying to help people, especially women, develop this inner glow, this inner love. And despite the outer aspect that you have, how you can actually project what you have inside despite the outer image or the outer projecting that you think you have. I mean, it's not who you are, it's who you think you are. Normally it's how you present yourself it's really complicated, but we can narrow it down somehow to what you are and what you want to be, or who you think you are, or who people think you are. But women nowadays live a very stressful moment with Facebooks, with Instagram, and it's not that complicated. We should actually go back to the roots, go back to who we are, what we can actually offer, and be proud of what we can do with who we are.
Yeah, that's well said, and it's beautiful and so hard at the same time, right? Like as you said, there's so much influence. I think especially young girls nowadays as well, or young people in general, right? Like with all the social media, how you get influenced, and it's very hard to say, okay, no, that's not me. As you said, find that inner love and to be okay with whatever you look like, and just have that self-love and confidence, especially when there's so many influences. Where would you even start on this journey?
I would go back to the roots and actually start with 3 simple questions, like 3 things. I'm going to ask you right now if you're up to
Okay,
it.
a challenge. Okay.
Okay. Tell me 3 things that you like about yourself right now, out of the top of your head.
Okay, the first one that comes up is actually what we're doing now. I really like to create a space for people where I can just really listen and share. And I just like that I can do that I feel like, oh, this is something I'm good at and that I'm passionate about. So I think that will be one thing. I love my passion for travel as well. I feel like that really allows me to see the whole world. And yeah, that's something I just really enjoy. And I think, let me see. I also like, if I would think about something externally, I'm happy with my eyes. Like I love the color. Yeah.
Okay, great. And how do you feel about that? Now that you smiled as you said your eyes, how do you feel about that? Are you owning it? Do you feel like it's external?
Yeah, I was like, maybe I should mention something external, but it almost feels weird. It's almost like giving yourself a compliment, right? And that feels, in a way, feels awkward. Like, oh, am I saying this about myself? But as if I'm not allowed to say that, but it's me. It should start with me, right? Yeah, I love this question because it really is this mirror that we get of like, no, I'm supposed to love myself fully, and that's the starting point.
Yeah.
And being okay with giving yourself those compliments.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked this question. We don't allow ourselves to give ourselves compliments, and when we do, we're like, "Oops, is that okay?" I said 3. It was the last one. You
Yeah.
said first, and then suddenly, oh, my eyes. I'm just gonna tiptoe across this question and that's what I talk about. We don't allow ourselves. We don't give ourselves these compliments because we don't love ourselves enough. And that has to do with this inner outer love and journey that we're on, all especially women.
It feels like such a simple question, but it can go really deep when you get this mirror. And I think it shows really the power of coaching as well, because when you do this exercise by yourself, it feels more comfortable, for example, to write down. I could write down like, oh yeah, oh, actually, I also love my hair or my shoes or whatever, like it's easier. I feel like it feels safer to just write about it. And I have done that as well, journaling, to write all the things down that you're grateful for. And it's also related to that. But I think when you have someone who asks you this question and you have the mirror, and it's more confrontational, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, what am I going to answer? And also now everyone is listening, what am I going to answer to this question? Yeah. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I've also experienced your sessions of compassionate inquiry that even goes much deeper. Would you like to share a little bit more about that? Like, it's related to coaching, but it's also quite different.
Yeah, compassionate inquiry is an approach that Dr. Gabor Mate invented, and it's related to going back to oneself, going back to the origin, going back to the roots, and going back to the emotions and discovering what's underneath those emotions and unpacking those, and going back to oneself in the present moment. Because we're always in the past, we're always in the future. Again, being present is essential for living. As mammals, an animal doesn't get mad and hangs on to, oh, this guy, this zebra did this to me last week and I'm still, mad. They just move on. And that's really healthy, to be in the present moment. And once you're there, the body can work, can do its functions. And all that has to do with the somatic work that he does, and all this has to do with body functions, health, disease, all these developments, all these things that develop into diseases and stuff. As human beings, we have two basic needs. As young human beings, we need to be attached. Otherwise, we die. Because if we're not in the tribe, we die, we're abandoned. And we need to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So we shut down our authenticity in order to be to belong, to be in the tribe. Otherwise, we don't survive. So most of us, I think 100% of us, shut down our authenticity in order to belong. But when we grow older and we somehow find out what our authenticity is, there's a resistance because our authenticity wants to come out, and we're shutting it down. We're shutting it down because that's the way we survive and that's the way we know how to survive. But there's a resistance, and then is when everything comes up. Diseases come up, patterns are repeating itself, there's conflict, everything comes up once we realize that we're not being authentic with ourselves. So yeah, that's why it's really important to be present, see what comes up, see what shows up, and see those emotions and read those emotions, see what message they're carrying, and try to befriend those messages. And yeah, that's all related to compassion inquiry.
And for someone who has never heard about this or doesn't know the work of Gabor Mate, it's very trauma informed. And as you said, how diseases are actually caused by suppressed emotions, or as you said, like things that maybe happened in childhood that you never dealt with and you just suppressed it. And then when you're older, it comes out in some sort of disease. And when I heard about it for the first time, I was like, oh, I actually had no idea that, yeah, basically we create all of that ourselves, right? And it's not, of course, consciously, but it's all those things that subconsciously happen. And if we never deal with that, then there will be a certain moment that something shows up. And maybe for many people, it's just stress, even though, of course, that's already a big thing, but it can get way worse than that, right? And I think it's so fascinating when you dive into these topics to realize, like, oh, wow, the power of our thoughts, right? Our thoughts are so important, but also to really take the time, as you said, to be present and to go on that inner journey to feel what is actually going on inside. And that it can be like super uncomfortable. I took for my own experience as well, that I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know I had this buried somewhere from a long time ago. And once you start doing this work, it feels like you open up this box and you're like, oh, can I close this? But then there's no going back. It's like, then a lot of things come up, but it's important to do the work, because otherwise, yeah, what's the alternative if we keep on suppressing those things and we don't deal with it? We collapse or burn out. Or
yeah, actually, I'm the living case. I my body was saying stop, and I didn't. And then this was due to an immune deficiency, and then I got shingles. It got installed in my nervous system, and then it got collapsed, and then it got paralyzed. And that was something that I could have avoided somehow, but I didn't. Now I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then, yeah. So, yeah, some people get a wake-up call. Some people don't. Some people listen, pick up the call. Some people just continue. And some people don't even never get the call. So they're lucky. But yeah, I think it's a matter of listening. Yeah. And as Gabor says, wherever there's tension, it needs attention. So, yeah.
Yeah, if someone is listening, and maybe it feels even scary if you're like, oh my God, but I'm stressed. Is something going to happen to me, right? Like it can be even, can create even more stress, that you're like, oh, I have to do something with this because I feel tension everywhere. Now I have to pay attention. Yeah, you already mentioned being present is important. What else can someone do? Because I can also imagine, especially when you are already feeling stressed, for example, that it can be very hard to be present because, as you said, you have this internal drive that you feel like, oh, I have to keep on going. And sometimes that's also a protection mechanism in itself. You keep on going because you don't want to feel what's underneath. So you keep on being busy so that you don't really have to deal with whatever emotions are coming to the surface.
I always trust in the capacity of healing of my clients. However, as long as you don't go to a therapist or you're not aware that you have a problem, there's no help that you can get. I mean, it's like if you're not aware that you need help, you won't get it unless, in my case, I wasn't aware until I got this. I had to go to the doctor. I mean, there was a problem there. It was some evidence that there was a problem. But until you're there, you just keep on going. The emotional, our nervous system, our immune system, and our metabolism is all together. It's all blended together. So everything is all connected. When there's an alert in the nervous system, there's an alert in the immune system. Everything is connected. I think it was Tony Robbins that said that if you're mad for 5 minutes, your immune deficiency, your system goes deficient for 5 hours. So 5 minutes goes down 5 hours. I mean, it's
Wow.
all really related. So I would suggest that you go to a therapist, you start working your emotions, you start working what's going on, what's the trigger, how can you deal with that trigger, how can you anticipate that trigger, what can you do to help yourself when you see that trigger, or when you identify the obstacle that's in front of you, how can you help yourself once you're there. There's all these kinds of tools that you can actually work with in order to help yourself.
Years ago, I would also have been like, no, I can figure this out myself, being in this, what you said before, this superwoman mode, or just minimizing what's happening. I think that having the awareness and then deciding, okay, I'm going to get support, whatever that support might look like, that's already a victory in itself before you even start doing the work.
As women, we're the caregivers of society. We like it or not. Either it's our kids, it's our family, it's our whatever it is, our friends. So we tend to normalize our situation. We tend, oh, it's okay, we can do that. I can do that. I can carry this. And we always tend to have unmet needs because we don't care about, we're always in the end of the line. We don't mind. Well, I'll do that later. Though that's for me. It's okay. I don't mind. So that's when the problem starts because we normalize the situation and it's not normal. It shouldn't be normal. We should be able to ask for help. We should be able to ask for, hey, this is not normal. This is not, I need help. I need my space. I need to love myself, my self-care, my self-love, which is not the same. And be able to do that without feeling guilty at all, because we are human beings and we need our space as well. So depending on where you live in the globe, and there's a lot of places where women are not allowed to feel well when they ask for their own space. That's when everything starts. All the diseases, all the different sorts of situation. There's a lot of research done that most of the percentage of illnesses are in women because we're the ones that are carrying all the weight, all the heavy, like emotional weight, caregivers, household, everything. And men normally are like, oh yeah, can I help you? No, it's not. You're not helping me. You're helping the whole house. You're helping the whole family. And yeah, I can go on and on. Don't get me started here.
We have time, don't worry. But yeah, I actually had no idea that there are more diseases in women. Like I never heard
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some sort of diseases that are more currently more women have than men because it's wired this way. It's a system. It's a toxic society that we're living in right now. Yeah.
And can you also link certain diseases to certain behavior? For example, if you never speak up, you get a throat infection, for example, because it's related to your throat, or are diseases linked like that as well?
Yes. There are a lot of studies. For example, like out of the top of my head, there's like breast cancer. It's not as much as genetics. It's epigenetics. It's your lifestyle. It's what you do. It's your emotional. It's your personality. There's a lot research done that has to do with unspoken anger. Women have a lot of unspoken anger because if you speak your anger, oh, you're hysterical. Oh, your hormones, you're doing this, and we don't do that. So we're just shutting down, suppressing, and then most of the cancer, breast cancer, has to do with that, and it's not genetic, it's epigenetic. That's something that I was reading the other day. I don't know the numbers, but I think the exact numbers, but yeah, and multiple sclerosis and all these autoimmune diseases are mostly in women because the immune system turns on against us because of the stress, because of the not all this, we're the caregivers, we're suppressing, we're not saying it's okay, we're smiling, we're putting on the mask, we're trying to, pleasing others. And that's women, basically, yeah,
Why
unfortunately.
do we do this to ourselves?
I know. Yeah. But it's a
Oh,
system. It's depending. I mean, look at the world. Think of countries. I don't want to. I mean, most of the countries we are suppressed. And call
mm,
me feminist. I don't know. Define that. I don't know. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's sad, but it's true. And, yeah, as you said it, like it's up to us also to take care of ourselves. Yeah, I liked also what you said before. Self care is not the same as self love. How would you define the difference? If someone is like, yeah, I've heard before, yeah, I know I should love myself, but then I just go to the spa for a day and then I feel like I can tick that off my list. But of course, it doesn't work like that. How would you define the difference between self care and self love?
yeah. My definition of self care is going to the beauty parlor, getting your hair done. That's self care. Your nails, maybe going to the doctor when you need the doctor. Maybe you don't need it, or you something. Oh, I feel something is off. I'm gonna take my that time and get an appointment and do things. And self love is actually what we were talking about. As Mel Robbins says, high five yourself in front of the mirror. I am amazing. I am loved. Love yourself. Even though that gives you goosebumps, that's awkward, that feels weird, but really love yourself. Like talk to yourself with respect, with love.
Mm, yeah. For example, I said love creating this space. That's a characteristic, but
Mhm.
in a way, it could also be related to self love, right? Even it's not like an external thing about looks, but liking your personality, or do you feel like that's something else?
Well, there's a fine line between liking your looks because if you like your looks, you feel better with yourself. So it's really there's a spiral there that goes back and forth. So I define it like something physical that you do. You go to the spa. I think it's self care.
Hmm.
You're caring about yourself in my definition. And self
Yeah.
love is what you tell you like. I'm so stupid. I dropped my keys or I forgot something. You don't say that to. I wouldn't say that to you. So don't say it to yourself. Oh, yeah. Well, sorry, I'm clumsy today. Or oh, Christina, you made a mistake. It's okay. Don't worry. Yeah, that is self love because that is how you. I think of myself like I was a little kid, a little child. Like, oh, I don't speak to myself like that. And then there's an inner child inside of us, each of us. And if we speak to that inner child like that, ooh, that feels weird. And toughen up, come on, you can do this. And then, that's not nice. So try to
Mm.
be gentle with yourself. Try to be careful and loving.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just also reflecting on my own journey while you were sharing that. I think for me, also before giving myself compliments in that sense, when I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, my hair looks great, or whatever it might be. For me, what really helped when I started was to first let go of the negative self-talk. What you just said, if you drop something like, oh, I'm so stupid, or to cut that out. I think that was really the starting point for me. And I remember that one day I literally told myself in the mirror, okay, from now on, I'm not going to say anything to myself that's not nice anymore. And of course, sometimes still little things can creep in. But I think that just realizing that made already such a shift for me, trying to be your own best friend and to feel like, okay, maybe I'm not giving myself all the compliments yet, at that stage. But I was like, no, at least I can be kind. Let's start with that, right? Instead of bringing yourself down, because if you're already not nice to yourself, then who else is going to be? But
Yeah.
it's really something I think that we have to train ourselves to reprogram ourselves to really feel like, yes, that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be kind to yourself. It's not normal to have all this negativity and but it feels like when we talk about doing things beyond the ordinary, it almost feels like that, right? Because it's almost normal to be negative about
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
instead of being positive. And it's
Yeah.
almost, at least that's also one of the thoughts I used to have. If I'm positive, then maybe people think I'm arrogant or I'm so full of myself, instead of just feeling like, no, you should be happy with yourself. And if you wear something nice, to just own it, right? And it's so
Yeah.
messed up in that sense, how we have been programmed to feel
Yeah.
like, no, it's not okay, but it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say the first step is actually catching yourself being mean to yourself. That's the first step in order to get better. And I would actually add something else, if I may.
Yeah,
That
of course.
what I do is when I catch myself being nasty to myself, I cut that loop. I cut that train of thought. I just, stop it. And for example, if I say, oh, I'm stupid, I just forgot my keys, I automatically say three nice things about myself. because that
Mm.
in the brain that cuts the loop of negativity, and it actually rewires it for positivity. And actually being okay, so I'm stupid, I forgot my keys. No, but I was nice to the, I don't know, to the waiter. I'm an intelligent person, and I was, whatever. Three things that come to my mind and suddenly shift that thought, that train of thought, and then goes to a positive and something that's uplifting me again. And the more you do that, the more you train your mind to think in positive ways without being full of yourself, being realistic, something that you just did. Okay, I was nice to the waiter. I was gentle to the taxi driver, whatever it is, just be there. Or I did a great gym session today, or I got out of bed and I was tired, but I did it, just something to change that.
Yeah. And you mentioned before as well the importance of gratitude. Do you feel like that's something you use in combination with this as well? Or is that like a separate practice for you? Or what does it look
Yeah.
like in your life?
It's a separate practice. I do it every night when I go to bed. I think about the day, and I think about, first of all, the things that I'm grateful for, and then the things that have been synchronicities, that things that have been aligned of the intentions that I had for the day, and things that have been aligned. Because I heard once that the more that you focus on the things that have been aligned, the more you will be perceiving them somehow. So for example, my intention for today was calling in the person that's going to be arranging a workshop for whatever for the next month, and then calling in the people that are going to do it for me or helping me do it. And suddenly I bumped into this woman, and she talked about this and that, and oh, that's a synchronicity. So I really go through those things in my mind every time I go to bed, and that's something that I'm grateful for. So the more I do that, the more I'm aware of things going on in my life that are actually moving things forward. And I also stop through the day. I have these moments, or I have these glimmers of, oh, I'm so grateful right now. The other day I was driving my car, I was going to a session with a client, and I was grateful that I could drive, that had a car, that I had a client, that all these little tiny things that you take for granted, suddenly, oh my God, I'm thankful. And there was a tiny little moment. Okay. And then I continued my moment. So during the day, I have these stops of glimmers, and yeah, I'm grateful.
Oh, I love that. It's really about smelling the roses along the way, right? Like
Yeah.
really, yeah. What you do at night, I think it's also great to have this gratitude practice before sleeping. I feel like it also makes your dreams better, like
Yes.
having this positive mindset before going to bed. But I also, yeah, love to actually what you said to do that just during the day. With small moments to just continuously walk around with that gratitude in your heart. I feel like that just makes such a big shift in how you show up. And yeah, if we're talking about negative self-talk and stuff like that, I feel like this is just like something that can really shift and helps you to also be more positive and maybe avoid those negative thoughts a little bit more when you are feeling more grateful, because it almost cannot exist at the same time, right? Like if you feel that gratitude and you're like, oh wow, this is so beautiful, or oh, I just had this nice conversation, or the sun is shining, whatever it might be, at that
Yeah.
moment there's not like a negative thought coming in,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And are there any other like practices that you do or that have helped you over the years, like in your own journey, that you feel like, oh, this is like, maybe a simple thing but really has made a big difference for me?
Another thing that I've also tried to train myself with, and I'm doing, is also being very accepting of what is. Like, this is what it is. And this is the experience that you needed in order to learn, or to, I don't know, whatever it is. Because, oh, I should have been this, or I wish it was that, or I wish this was different. No, because what that generates is more anxiety, more anticipation of whatever it could have been, or whatever it should have been, or nostalgia, or whatever. And that's not healthy. So, okay, it wasn't that good. It wasn't, but I accept that this is exactly what I needed, and this is exactly what had to happen. And that's it. Yeah. The
Mm.
acceptance of what is.
Yeah, that's a tough one, I think, especially when things don't go according to plan, right? Like you still feel like, okay, this is, yeah, just accepting what is, instead of resisting. Yeah, but I said, especially I think when things don't go to plan, to still be okay with it in that moment. How do you even do that? Is it something you tell yourself, or how do you meditate, or how do you get into that mind?
Well, what really helped me was my face paralysis, because it was so tough. I had so much grief. I was like longing to be the person that I used to be and I would never be. And I was like, yeah, but I was going to the doctors and okay, can I get my face back? Okay, can I go back to who I was? Can I? And it never happened. And I was doing this rehab. It was very painful emotionally, physically, and during 1 year. And it was like never going back. So this whole process was so tough, brutal on my person. Like everything was horrible. I described it like stepping away from the whole situation and just, okay, let's look at the whole picture. Okay, this is a tiny little pixel of what's going on right now. So what can I do? It's not in my power. I cannot do anything. So if I can't do anything, what can I learn and accept? But I know that's a stage of, like, as I said, you step back. But before you can actually step back, you're in the battle and you're not accepting, you're not believing, you're fighting, you're crying, you're grieving, everything comes up. But then there's a moment, and this is the experience that I have now. Now it's easier for me to step back at the minimum moment. Okay, I can just step back easily now. But that's experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost as if you have to go through all those phases to reach that stage, to be able to step back and accept, like what you said, feeling all the grief. Like you couldn't reach that stage right from the start of like, oh, I'm just going to step back, and it's like a process in itself to get there.
Now I can tell you that I can get there very fast. Yeah. Yeah, I can get there easily. And that's why sometimes I feel like I'm very neutral somehow. I can, like if you pinch me, there's no blood because I can get very cold very fast because of the experience, because of the what I have lived. But life teaches you. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that's also what you said, years of experience and working with
Yeah.
all those things. And yeah, it's not something that just from day one happens like that.
Yeah, and something that I also tell my clients is what is this serving you? Like when you're in that battle and and it's overwhelming and it's devastating and okay, there's a point when it's so exhausting that what is this serving you? What is the function of this? And then you realize it's not, okay, there was a function at first, but it's not there anymore. So then there's a moment when you let go naturally because it's not there anymore. You don't need that. So then you let go. And you can
Yeah,
release.
and then it's sort of when you in a way step out of the situation and realize
Yeah.
like, okay, what am I actually doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I guess mostly also this mental loop that we can get into, right? Like in your thoughts, feeling like you're just stuck and trying to find a solution, but it's, you just have the same thoughts all over again, and you
Yeah.
get even more frustrated and it's not going anywhere. And then until you step out of that and look at yourself in a way from a distance, and you're like, what am I
Yeah.
actually doing, or what am I worried about? But yeah, as you
And
said,
again,
it takes some time to get to that moment of stepping back.
but again, with a lot of self-care, a lot of self-love, a lot of self-respect, each person has its own tempo. You don't pull people out of that situation if they're not ready. They need to fight their battles. They need to realize by themselves. So you're helping them, you're navigating with them, you're holding their hands whilst they're in that battle, but you don't pull them out when they're not ready. So each person has their own space, tempo, and that's something that I accompany people with. But that's my experience. But maybe you have your own time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's also my personal experience, that when I was going through some darker moments, I would just call it like that for now. Yeah, when you're in the moment, you feel like you wanted to be like gone as soon as possible, but at the same time you're like, oh, I don't know how long this is going to take, especially when you're sort of in the middle of it, but almost trusting like, okay, there will be a moment that I will feel better. And then when you look back, it's what you said, then you can get the lessons out of it, and that you feel like, oh, okay, yeah, now reflecting back on it, or you create a bit more of that distance. You're like, oh yeah, I see what was happening. And yeah, if I think about my own experiences now, I feel like, okay, it was important to go through those phases, that I was really in the middle of it and feeling everything, but it led me to actually heal those important parts and then be able to move forward again. But yeah, I think that's sometimes the hard part, that you're like, I don't even know how long this is going to take. And yeah, you want it to be healed or whatever as fast as possible, but there's just no time for it. And as you said, we all have different things to deal with and different phases. And it's an ongoing journey for everyone. But I loved what you said as a reminder that through all of it, just to have that self-care and yeah, self-respect and self-love, those things are so important, that even if you are struggling, that you can have that like inner foundation as well. That's how I would describe it in my own experience. Like I always felt this inner light still inside of me that kept me going, and I think that's so important to remember, that we all have that inside of us no matter what happens, and to try to connect with that.
Yeah, and a shortcut for the next time you're in the darkness, what I would ask you now is, when was the moment, if you can remember, or the day or the trigger that made you get out of that? Because there's a moment when it's done and you're stepping out of that. There's something that got you out. There's something that made you, I'm done with this. I'm finished. There's a moment there. And if you can remember what it was, that will make you stronger, because the next time you're in that moment, in another struggling situation, you're going to know that you're going to anchor yourself to that moment, and it's going to come sooner.
Yeah, right now I couldn't pinpoint one moment, but I feel like based on my own experiences now, whenever I feel like I'm getting a bit in this mood, or of like, negative thoughts, or like just not in the flow, I feel like I make this shift. Okay, I'm done with my own bullshit, I don't want to stay stuck. So maybe that's like, even though I don't remember the specific moment, maybe it's that type of thought, like, okay, now I'm done with all of this stuff. And yeah, sometimes it's this, yeah, this inner pep talk or something, like a boost, or yeah,
Yeah.
that you
And
feel like,
and sometimes you need to feel down, and it's okay, because we're we don't move in linear. The progress is normally not linear. It's normally like this. So you need to feel down, and especially women, we have hormones when we go up and down. We're not consistent, and it's okay to feel down. And it's okay. You need to gather yourself and feel low and feel cozy and feel okay. But there's a moment when, okay, we're done, and then you go out of that cocoon somehow, and then okay, so pinpoint that moment, and what was it? Maybe today was one thing, tomorrow will be another thing, but that's the thing that will make you, that light, that inner light is what you lean on for the following challenge that you might face.
yeah, that's true. Especially I think as women, we have those moments every month anyway. But I feel when I have a few of those days, I'm also just like, okay, I allow myself to be a bit down and cozy on the
Yeah,
couch, and to feel
yeah,
like, no, this is okay, and just have those cocoon days. And
yeah,
then to be like, yeah, there will be a day that I'm energized again, and that
yeah,
day comes usually faster than you expect, right? And then you're like, okay, now
yeah,
I have the energy again, and I can
yeah.
do this. But yeah, as you said, it's important to have those cocoon moments, and to feel it, because we cannot always be happy, because then we
Mhm.
also would be suppressing a lot of emotions that are
Totally.
happening as well. Yeah, we spoke about so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there anything that I haven't asked you yet, or we didn't talk about, that you feel like, oh, this is actually something I still would like to share today?
No, I think we covered basically everything. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we could go on and on. We can maybe, I don't know, have another podcast, maybe another day on another topic. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, definitely. No, I really love this. And yeah, if anyone like who's listening has any questions and feels like, oh, I would love if you could talk about this topic as well, definitely let us know. It's always good
Absolutely.
to get your feedback, and then who knows, we record another one. And
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone would like to connect with you and know more about your work, what would be the best place?
Yeah, actually, I'm working on my website now, so it's a moment when work in progress. My Instagram is basically where I get all my. I have a Calendly in my Instagram, my link trees.
Okay, perfect. I will share it in the show notes anyway, so you can find all the links there. If you would like to connect with Christina, know more about her work, or experience one of her powerful sessions. As I said in the beginning, I had the pleasure of doing beautiful inner journeys with her in some sessions, which is really powerful work. And I'm not just saying that as a friend, but also literally for my personal experience. So I know how powerful it can be. and how it can really help you to make those shifts, like inner child work and patterns that you didn't even realize were blocking you, that show up, and navigating all of that. It's such important work also in this journey of like self-love that we're all on. I think that's also something that's always ongoing, something we can always improve. So if this conversation inspired you, if you would like to know more, feel free to reach out. And also don't forget to follow and subscribe to Beyond the Podcast so you stay up to date on future episodes. And yeah, thank you so much again, Cristina, for this beautiful conversation. Super grateful. If we talk about gratitude, this is my one of my gratitude moments for today. So yeah.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. I'm super grateful as well.
And for everyone listening, I will see you in the next episode.